Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
Hey, it's William, and welcome to today's episode of the Catalytic Leadership Podcast. Each week, we tackle a topic related to the field of leadership. My goal is to ensure that you have actionable steps you can take from each episode to grow in your own leadership. I believe, like Craig Rochelle has said many times, that when a leader gets better, everybody benefits. Your team, your department, your customers, your clients, your spouse, your kids, everybody. Each week, we spotlight leaders from a variety of fields, locations, and organizations. My goal is for you to see that leaders can be catalytic no matter where they are or what they lead. I draw inspiration from the stories and journeys of these leaders, and I hear from many of you that you do too. Let's jump in to today's interview. It's an honor to have Nicky Billou on the show today. Nicky, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here.
You know, reading about you, you are a #1 international best-selling author. You have written a book called Finish Line Thinking, How to Think and Win Like a Champion. You're a co-founder of eCircle Academy. You're advisor and confidant to some of the most successful and dynamic entrepreneurs in Canada. In-demand, highly inspirational speaker to corporate audiences. My goodness. I mean, and you run a podcast of your own on thought leadership. I'm so excited to hear what you have to share with our listeners today around thought leadership and leadership in general. So I'd like to start, Nicky, with just asking you to share some of your story with our listeners, particularly your journey and your development as a leader. How did you get started?
Well, I appreciate the question, man. Thank you so much. So I'm originally actually an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. And when I was a young boy, the Islamic Revolution was taking place in Iran. And my late father, God rest his soul, he was very prescient. He could see the writing on the wall that this was not going to be a great place for him to raise his family anymore. So what Dad did is he got us out of Iran and he brought us to Canada eventually.
Wow.
And I thank God every day that Dad took us out of tyranny and brought us to freedom. And I know it's very fashionable these days for a lot of people to go, oh my God, America, Canada, the West, so oppressive, so racist, so sexist. Ah! Are you kidding me? This is the most tolerant place on earth. You want to experience some oppression? Let's go to Iran. Tell you what, there's a young girl there, 22 years old. Her name's Mahsa Amini. She was beaten to death 2 weeks ago for the crime, quote unquote, of leaving part of her hair uncovered when she walked outside. Young women are fighting for their rights in Iran and being beaten and killed in the streets. That would never happen in the West. And honestly, all these people need to get a grip and understand and be grateful for what we have here. I'm a champion for freedom because of this. I believe in freedom. I believe in free expression. I believe in free enterprise. My father, my late father, he believed in free enterprise. He was an entrepreneur. This is a man who made it his mission to uplift people. This is a man who would, if you needed a job, he'd help you get a job. If you needed to start a business and you needed help, he'd help set you up. If you worked for him and you were trying to buy a house or a car, an apartment, and you didn't have enough money, he'd help you out. And you might ask yourself, wow, that sounds wild. Why would he do that? Well, number one is he was a Christian and he believed he'd been blessed by God Almighty, and it was his responsibility to share those blessings with others. But secondly, he did it because he could. He had the wherewithal to make a difference and still take care of his family, you know, and that made me want to become an entrepreneur. I always wanted to be like my father because my father was a great man. And so when I finally became an entrepreneur, I started to see that many entrepreneurs, my friend, they have this issue. They want to start a business. They want to make a difference, but they're scared of coming across like they're pushy or salesy or like they reek of commission breath. So they don't go after business they should be going after.
That's good.
And good people who need their help don't get their help. It's bad for them because, their business doesn't grow. It's bad for the good people they could have helped because they don't get help by them. And then some charlatan marketer jumps right in, no compunctions whatsoever, takes their money and delivers nothing to them. So it's bad for the world, really. So good. I saw this and I thought, I want to help these people, because to me, sales is an act of love. It's an act of reverence. So I reframe selling to serving. Nobody wants to be sold. You don't want to be sold. I don't want to be sold, but everybody wants to be served by a caring human being, an advocate. So that's really kind of, the beginning of my story is I really help entrepreneurs, good people, become advocates and stop thinking of themselves as, salespeople, which they don't want to be.
Nicky, that's so good. What an example that you had to follow in your dad. Somebody who loved people and showed value to people and brought that, it sounds like he brought that value out of them when he helped them take their next steps toward their dreams.
Yep.
I love that.
Thank you.
How would you define leadership?
Well, to me, a leader is someone who cares about people. A leader is someone who wants to make a difference for others.
Yeah.
To me, every entrepreneur is a leader. One of the things that entrepreneurs kind of suffer from is they don't know how to stand out. They got this Mayo message, so their leadership does not shine. And if you want to be a thought leader, you need a tight, dialed in message. You can't be telling people, I help people deal with overwhelm. What is that? No, you got to say, listen, I help business owners who are burning out. I help them turn that around. I help, I help husbands whose wives have said sayonara to turn it around and recoup the marriage. I help business owners who are struggling add 1 or 2 zeros to their income every year. That sort of thing, man. That's powerful. That's a powerful message. You got to help people get their message going. And that's a big part of what I do is I help people become thought leaders by having a tight, dialed in message. And I help them understand that their job is to help solve problems for people. So all they got to do is solve problems for people. What is business? Business is about solving problems for people. That's it. Business isn't numbers. Business is people. It's solving problems for people. So I help people figure out who are the people you want to help, what's the problem you want to solve for them, and then I help them get a really tight dialed in message so the right people are attracted to them and they flow right into their business. That way, Brother William, that's how we get these people to really live the life they're supposed to live. That's how we get them to be able to earn the money they're supposed to earn. Because a lot of these business owners, they're not making enough money, so they can't buy a home maybe, or they can't buy their dream home. They can't send their kids to private school. They're under pressure. They're fighting with their spouse, and it gets worse because couples fight over money. You know what I mean? Yep. They're under stress, so they're not feeling good. Their health is suffering, and then emotionally, they're like beating up on themselves. Oh, I'm no good. I'm no good. I'm no good. So these are all massive consequences. My job is to help them see these consequences for what they really are rather than hiding their heads in the sand. And then I help them come to a space where they make a decision. Do you want these consequences to continue for another 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months? Or do you want them to be gone and do you want to build a life that you deserve? That's what we do for people, Brother William.
I love that. You've already alluded to a couple of things I want to circle back on. You've talked about freedom. You've talked about free enterprise. Why are these things so important to you, and why do they matter so much?
Well, brother, like I said, I come from tyranny, man. Tyranny sucks. Freedom rules.
Clear and concise, right there.
There's a beautiful quote from a great American patriot, a founding father. His name's Patrick Henry, and he said something so powerful it reverberates throughout the centuries. And here's what he said. He said, I know not what choice others may make, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. And I think every human being in their heart of hearts feels that way. We all want liberty. And listen, you can't be free if you don't have free enterprise. If you don't have the ability to freely choose who you do business with, how you do business with them. Socialism is basically tyranny. Socialism is basically straight up evil crap.
You mentioned a charlatan marketer. I'd love to hear more about that. What is that, and how do you avoid a charlatan marketer?
Well, that's a great question. So I'll tell you a little story.
Yeah.
There was a lady, her name is Adele. She came to us because she was a really great coach. She helped people deal with some serious emotional problems and help them get, unstuck so they could go in life and live life, right? They weren't feeling all this mental depression. And she spent $125,000 on these charlatan marketers who promised her the moon and delivered exactly zero for her. $125,000. That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
crazy amount of money. And she started to lose faith in people. She thought, these charlatans, man, I don't know if I could trust any other gurus. And she lost faith in herself. She goes, maybe I'm not that as good as I thought that I was. But, we met her and we saw that, that the problem wasn't her. It was, she was following the wrong people. So we helped her see what was wrong. We helped her tighten her message. We helped her get clear on an ideal target market. We helped her go after these people. And boom, her income in a very short period of time, under 3 months, climbed from like about $2,000 a month to 20, 30 grand a month.
Wow.
It was absolutely wonderful and beautiful to see this happen for her. Because these charlatans, they don't care. They'll take your money. They just want money. They're in business for money. And of course, we all are here to make money. But I'm not in business just because I want to get my fingers on cash. I'm in business because I want to be a man like my father. I want to go to my grave and I want it to say on my grave, good man. Gave a good gosh darn.
That's good. You talk about people living in their comfort zone and how most people live there. How do you get them out of it? Like, what do you do to push them out of that place?
That's such a great question, because to me, there are 4 qualities every individual needs to have if they're really to be successful. Okay. The first quality is decisiveness. You must make a decision that you want to shift your life, your business. And decide comes from a Latin word, the root of which is to kill off. So all the words with side in it, decide, homicide, regicide, suicide, right? Side is kill off. Decide is to kill off the alternative. Okay. You must kill off the alternative to victory. If you are in business, you must decide to become successful. Not, I think I'll try it. No, you must decide. And then you must be committed to victory. There can be no, I'll try it for 3 months and then I'll see. There can be only, we're doing it, we're in it to win it. Then you must be coachable. You must hire a coach, a mentor, someone who can help you out. And that coach has got to be somebody who's got your back, right? And you got to be coachable and take their coaching. And then finally, you got to be resourceful. Everybody's got to be resourceful, because you're going to have to come up with money to invest. You're going to have to come up with time to invest and energy to invest. The great Tony Robbins was 17 years old when he wanted to work for Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn's team said, you need to come up with $1,200 to invest in this program. Then you can come work for us. This was in the late 70s. He was 17. He didn't have the money. He said, okay, give me some time. He knocked on 200 business owners' doors and said, will you invest in me? I'm trying to get my start here. And the 199th and 200th persons invested in him. And he was able to buy the program.
Wow.
And for myself, I was going through a rough time a few years ago. I was going through a divorce situation. And I got to tell you, brother, it was bad. I was just slowly sinking into an abyss, financially, emotionally, you name it. I went and I saw this man do a talk, right? And this man, right, he came to me. His name was Bill. He was a William just like yourself. He came to me Actually, I came to him, I should say. I came to him at the end of his talk and I said, that was awesome. I'd like to hire you. I think I need your help. He looked at me over and he said, all right, that's going to cost you $5,000 for 5 hours of my time. And I get paid in advance and I make no guarantees and I give no refunds. And I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. He said, I know, but I'm going to give you a little piece of advice, son. And I said, okay. He said, it doesn't matter how much money you have. What matters is how bad do you want change? You're confusing the problem with the solution. If you want this change, you will come up with the money and we will work together. I'm like, all right. Give me a couple of days. I called up a couple of people. I was a fitness trainer back then. And I said, I got good news for you. I need money and you need to get healthy. You need to lose some weight. So I'm going to give you the deal of a century. So I gave him a half price deal. I said, but here's the deal. I need the money right now by the end of this call. And the deal ends when I hang up. So what's it going to be?
Wow.
So these fellas gave me some money. I went back with $2,000. And I said, here's $2,000. No, wait a minute. I said, 5,000. I said, wait a minute, wait. How many people besides me have you given this little speech to over the years? He goes, oh, probably 30, 40. All right. Besides me, how many people came back with any money? He said, oh, you're the first. I said, okay, take my money. I'll sign a contract that says I'll pay the rest within a certain time frame. And the rest is history. Within 6 months, I made 6 figures. It was great.
Wow.
And I never looked back because I chose to be decisive and resourceful. If someone's listening to this and you're going, well, how can I do that? Well, you've got to make that decision and then you've got to do it. You've got to find a way, because anybody, if they want to, can come up with time, energy, and money to make an investment. Anybody.
So you've talked about how you did that. And you talk about how people can add to their income. And you said, add 1 or 2 zeros. Business owners can do that. How can you add 1 or 2 zeros or 20 or $100,000 to your income this year? Like, what does that look like?
Well, listen, I think I've already shared some of that with you about, get out of your own way and start serving and not selling. And then you've got to obviously have a good message so people want to do business with you.
Yeah.
I think those are important to do. Another thing a lot of people in business do is they undervalue themselves. They don't own their value. They undercharge. Why is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
If you don't charge enough, it creates some uncertainty in the client. They go, well, I don't know, maybe he's not so good. Maybe I shouldn't buy from him, or maybe they'll buy, but they won't show up strong to do the work.
Yeah.
You charge enough, they show up strong.
That's good.
Listen, imagine that you had a heart condition and you were looking for the best surgeon you could find. And you found one surgeon, he had the best reputation, and the heart surgery would cost you $100,000. And there was another surgeon, God bless him, he'd do it for $1,000. Which one of those would you trust with your heart?
That's a good word.
So
we're not looking for the bargain there.
Right. No more bargain hunting. If you don't get what you should get, you won't give what you should give, and the client won't show up to do the work. So you got to charge enough based on the value of what you're doing. You got to own the value of the solution. You can't charge based on how much, the market charges. Screw that. You got to charge based on the value of your solution. Doctor is going to save you from death. $100,000 is good value for that. Someone who's going to help you save your marriage, well, it'll cost you at least $250,000 to get divorced. If he charges you $30,000 to save you $250,000, that's good value. Someone's going to add a zero to your $500,000 a year business and take it to $5 million, and he charges you $250,000. You should pay it all day long and 16 ways to Sunday. And if you own your value, you're going to attract decisive clients. You're going to attract clients ready to rumble and do the work. Well, if you charge low fees, you're going to attract tire kickers, hobbyists, excuse makers. They're going to blame you when they don't do the work. You don't want that. You want great clients. So charge great fees. So you get great clients who show up and do the work.
You've talked about thought leadership in other places. And as I was reading about you and doing some research on you, this is an idea that comes up again and again. Can you describe what thought leadership is, and specifically around personal branding and a compelling creation there?
What a great question. So, there's a fellow whose work I followed for a long time. His name is Matt Church. He's from Australia. He created the Thought Leaders Global Movement, and he also created a program in Australia called Thought Leaders Business School. So here's the key thing, right? He's a bit of a guru there, but here's what makes him special. About 1,500 odd people have gone through his programs over the years. Fully half have made an extra $500,000 to $2.5 million a year working with Matt.
Wow.
Fully half. Of the remaining half, fully 65% are making an extra $250,000 to $500,000 a year. That's like 84% of the people that do Matt's programs make $250,000 to $2.5 million. When I found out about that, I thought, okay, there's something to this thought leadership thing. So Matt defines it like this: an expert's someone who knows something, a thought leader is someone who's known for knowing something. Experts are a dime a dozen, thought leaders are rare and valuable. So you think about that and you go, oh. Then another fellow became a friend of mine. His name's David Meerman Scott. He's also, a fellow who's worked with Tony Robbins at his events. And he says, an expert is like a cover band. A thought leader plays original music. You playing original music allows you to generate greater revenue. You are far more valuable. People seek you out versus you being another copy, another Me Too. Nobody wants that crap.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that crap, brother.
That's true. How do you position yourself as a branded thought leader?
Well, we teach a program where we show people how to go deep in themselves and get their expertise. Their expertise isn't what they do for a living, William. It's not.
Yeah.
Their expertise comes from the adversity and suffering they've gone through in life. Life teaches you through adversity and suffering. Your adversity and suffering is what gives you what you need to go out there and create victory for yourself and for other people. It's my divorce that made me a champion for men and families and sons and boys. Okay. It's my failures in business in the past that made me determined to succeed and took me to success. And for everyone, it's the same, but they haven't taken the time to go through their adversity in a structured way and extract the lessons and the valuable intellectual property that's there that they can then use to be of service to others. That's what we teach people to do. And when they do that, oh my God, William, things pop. They're authentic, they're real, they got great messaging, and people want to work with them.
You said earlier that you talk about selling without sounding salesy. I'd love to hear about that.
Well, look, I told you before, everybody, you got to get away from selling. You got to take the attention off you and put it on the other person. It's not about you or your program. You don't care about my program. You just want to care. See, who the heck am I? And if your business is struggling, you want to know, can this guy help me fix it? Does he know what he's talking about? You don't want to hear about the bits and bytes of my program. You just want to know if I'm a good human being, I'm honest, and I know what I'm talking about, and maybe I've helped a couple other people do it. That's all you care about. That's all your clients care about. They don't want to hear about your stupid methodology. They just don't. I'll tell you a story, okay? There was a young man. His name was Dan. Dan was a personal fitness trainer. And when he came to see us, he was 25. He was excited. He wanted to be successful. But Dan was not being successful. Dan was making less than $18,000 a year. It was really bad. He had to borrow money from mom and dad to pay the rent. Embarrassing as all get out. So he came to us excited, and I said, okay, Danny boy, who do you help? Oh, I help anybody. No. Who do you help? No, I help anybody. Anybody with a wallet, a pulse? Yeah. No, that's not going to work. You need to narrow your niche. Okay. I work with doctors. My dad's a doctor, and they have lots of money. Yeah, that's a great message. Hey, doctors, you got lots of money, and my dad's a doctor. So it didn't work out for him. And then he said, okay, I'll narrow my needs some more. I work with cardiologists. I'm like, all right, Dad, I'm cardiologist. And his message to cardiologists was, you make more money than doctors. So after a while, that didn't work. He started working with a Paralympic athlete, an African-Cuban man by the name of Papito Wilson. And Mr. Wilson, he was a strong guy, but Danny made him stronger, tougher to get back to the Paralympic Games. And he, I could see he loved working with this guy. So he came to me and he said, Nicky, I love working with this guy. And I could see the wheels were churning in his mind. And he was thinking, maybe I should work with Paralympians. And he told me, Nicky, the wheels are churning in my mind. I think I should work with Paralympians. So I'm like, go for it. Brother, in 6 weeks, he signed up over 400 clients.
Wow.
400. He could not do one-on-one coaching anymore. He had to do group coaching.
Wow.
And he went up to over $1 million a year.
Amazing.
Like, dude, that's how it was. And
amazing.
Why? Well, first of all, he stopped trying to go after just the money. He started to go after something that really touched his heart.
Yeah.
And his message landed. Imagine someone with missing limbs. Imagine what they're going through. Imagine that they're probably not thrilled that they have missing limbs. Imagine that they're thinking they're maybe not able to live the same quality of life as someone with all their limbs. And this man's message to them was, I'm going to train you. I'm going to make you strong and powerful. And you think about that. That's more than about the body. That's about like, you're just as powerful, as good, as capable, with just as great a future as anybody else. That's good. Is what landed and got 400 clients for him.
Wow. I love how you're focused on people. Every story that you've told, everything that you've said so far is focused around helping lift people up, helping equip them and empower them and encourage them to fulfill their potential and what the dream that God has put inside of them. I love this. I'm curious, what is one book that has really influenced you, maybe more than any other?
Well, listen, I'm a big fan of the Bible. The lessons in the Bible have been absolutely fantastic for me. The story of Jesus is remarkable and wonderful and beautiful. And I think that every Christian should read the Bible. Every non-Christian should read it too, to just learn. But outside of the Bible, there's a number of books that have been really, really terrific. One of them was written by an atheist. It's called The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. It's a great story about the power of the individual. The other one is called The War of Art by Steve Pressfield. Really, really great book about how to get past your inner resistance. And one of my favorite novels is The Eagle Has Landed by Jack Higgins. It was written in 1974. And the protagonist in that book is the German officer during World War II. It's unusual for an Englishman to write a book extolling the German officers.
Indeed.
But the character, Colonel Kurt Steiner, the main character there, was shown as a man of honor, who, even though he had a mission that, was not one that the Allies were in favor of, let's leave it at that, Steiner was unwilling to behave dishonorably, even if it cost him and his men their lives. And as a young boy, when I read that book, it was 1978 when I first read that book. I was 11 years old. I just thought, wow, man, there are men like this that do the right thing. I just said, that's great. I want to be like that.
Oh, I love that. Every great catalytic leader that I've met is a reader. And typically readers not only love books, but they love to collect quotes. Is there a quote that sticks out in your mind that motivates you or challenges you or inspires you?
Yeah. The great Irish English philosopher Edmund Burke once said, the only condition necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to stand by and do nothing. And I got to tell you, I seek to not be one of those good men that stands by and does nothing.
Just on the conversation we've had today and what I've read about you, I don't think that charge can ever be levied against you, Nicky. That you're standing around doing nothing.
I appreciate that. But it's important for me that I stand up for what's right.
I know our listeners are going to want to stay connected with you, Nicky. What's the best way for them to do that?
Look, I'm all over social media. Just type in Nicky Billou on LinkedIn, Getter, Parler, Gab, Facebook, Instagram, those kinds of places. But if you're a business owner and you want to have a conversation about your business because you want to add a 0 or 2 to it, then go to my website, eCircleacademy.com. You can either go to eCircleacademy.com/appointment, or there's a button there on the top right-hand corner of the page. Click on the button. Short little questionnaire will come up with a few questions about your business. Answer those questions. They'll just help me prepare for our conversation, and let's have a conversation about what it's going to take to add that 0 or 2 to your business.
Well, I'm going to put that link in the show notes so everybody will have that. Nicky, again, it's been such an honor to talk with you today, and I love the heart behind what you're doing. Keep going.
God bless you, sir. God bless you. You mind if I close off with one last story?
No, please.
So a few years back, there was a woman who came to us, and she had been the country director for one of the leading personal development organizations in the world for Canada. So she ran Canada. She brought a fella in to work with her to help grow things, but they ended up not seeing eye to eye, and she left. She floundered for about 1.5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Then she came to us. We helped her get clear on her message and her ideal target market, and we believed in her, and we helped her be around a community of people who cared.
Yeah.
And anyways, her first month she made $10,000. Her second month she made $12,000, and her third month she made $18,000. In her fourth month, she leapt forward all the way to $62,200. It was incredible.
Wow.
Now she lives in Ottawa, Canada. I live in Toronto. It's a 5-hour drive. My oldest boy plays soccer, and he had a tournament in Ottawa. She has a son the same age as my son. So I called her up and I said, "Hey, we're coming to Ottawa for this tournament. How would you and your son like to, come maybe watch a game, maybe grab some lunch with us?" And she said, "Sounds great." So we all did that. Everybody had a wonderful time. And then my son and I drove home. A few weeks later, she was back in Toronto because we had one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshops. And here's what happened. There's a portion of the meeting where we do an enrollment opportunity to enroll people into our full program. And the way I do it is I don't talk about myself. I ask my members to talk about us. It's more effective, I think, and more real. And so I asked if anyone wanted to share their experience. And before I could pick on anybody, she just jumped out of her chair on stage and said, "Me." I'm like, "Okay, go ahead." And she took a look around the room and she started to cry. And then she looks over at me between her tears and sobs and says, "Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your little son came to visit with me and my little son, like little boys do, all excited comes, 'Mommy, who are we going to go meet?'" So I went to him and I said, "Oh, we're going to go meet Nicky Billou and his son." And then she said, "My son all of a sudden got very quiet, became very serious and sober, very unlike a little boy, and said, 'Oh, are we going to go meet the man who saved our family?'"
Wow.
And I don't cry in public, brother, but I cried.
Wow.
And she hugged me and I hugged her. And she said, "Nicky, you didn't know this, but when I came to you, the bank was about to foreclose on our home. We hadn't paid our mortgage in months. My husband and I were fighting every day, even in front of our kids, and it looked like we were going to lose our family. You literally helped us save our family.
Wow.
And what happened in that moment is that I realized that you never know what someone's dealing with. They may just not be comfortable to share with you, but you could be the answer to that person's prayer that day.
That's it.
So you need to show up strong, because that's what God wants you to do. And I pray every day that I am worthy of his charge to be of service to people in his flock.
Nicky, thank you for being catalytic in so many lives, including the story you just told. How God is using you and how he's going to use you. I believe in the days ahead, we don't have any clue. It's going to be great. Thanks for joining me for this episode today. As we wrap up, I have a couple of requests for you. I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to find this podcast. Second, if you don't have a copy of my newest book, Catalytic Leadership, I'd love to put a copy in your hands. If you go to catalyticleadershipbook.com, you can get a copy for free. Just pay the shipping so I can get it to you, and we'll get one right out. My goal is to put this into the hands of as many leaders as possible. This book captures principles that I've learned in 20 plus years of coaching leaders in the entrepreneurial space, in business, government, nonprofits, education, and the local church. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take a next step with a coach who can help you to intentionally grow and thrive as a leader, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to catalyticleadership.net to book a call with me. And stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, leaders, choose to be catalytic.
Thanks for listening to Catalytic Leadership with Dr. William Attaway. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. Want more? Go to catalyticleadership.net.